Orcs. Goblins. These two mighty armies have met in the middle of the frozen wastes. But why, I hear you ask? Well, there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. You see, the local dwarves decided to get up to a little bit of mischief, and they actually informed the orcs and the goblins by leaked memos that this particular region of the snow contains golden snow, which can be used to forge the mighty golden snowman. Unquestioningly, the orcs and goblins rushed out into the middle of the wilderness, and they have found that particular patch, which you can't see here, but just use your imagination. There's a tiny patch of yellow snow planted there by the dwarves to force these two armies to take each other on in battle. Therefore, both sides want to claim this zone until their designated snowman building unit can arrive. Therefore, it's dominate. So, starting with the forces of the goblins, over on this flank we have a big rock thrower, we have a rabble regiment, and behind them we have a whiz on a flea bag, and he has the inspiring talisman and also Bane chant. Two giants right there in front of the woods. Two hordes of trolls with a troll bruiser between them. We have the war trombone. We have the mincer. We have a flag git with the holy hand grenades. We have a fleabag horde, which is looking a little bit skewed at the moment because they won't stay on that hill very well, but that is actually a horde of fleabag riders. Next to them, we have another whiz with Bane chant. We have a horde of sharpsticks and a horde of spitters. It should also be pointed out that one of these troll units, this one here, has the dwarven ale. And now for the forces of the orcs, what do we have over here?
So the orcs on the right flank have got a regiment of gore riders, and their mighty Crudger on his winged slasher next to them, who's got the scrying gem, which disappointingly rolled a 1. Didn't do much. Moving down, we've got 2 more units of gore riders with the mighty Gakamak behind. So quite a lot of power on that side. And then the centre, we have 2 units of skulks that can hopefully do a bit of cheeky vanguard, backed up by 2 regiments of great axe, a troll horde in the middle, anchored down with the war drum, a flagger and a godspeaker. And that's it.
Yes, this flank. Not much over on this side of the table. There's this large piece of impassable terrain here, which may have factored into our decision making there.
Yeah.
But of course, with it being dominate, both sides have opted for quite a meaty centre of their armies. Going to be a lot of trolls and giants.
There's going to be a lot of blood spilt.
Meeting up with some more trolls over there. And orcs are no pushovers themselves. We're going to have the roll off for the choice of first turn on camera right now. So here we go. It's a 6 and a 4, so the goblins are going to get the choice. The goblins have elected to let the orcs move first, seeing if they'll show their hand in their quest for the yellow snow. Orc turn 1, and they have begun the march towards the yellow snow and the goblin lines. You can see the snow has now been marked in blue for your convenience, so they want to be within 12 inches of that at the end of the game. It should also be pointed out, I'm not sure if we mentioned it before, that these trolls here have the brew of haste, so they're extra fast, and also the fleabag horde has the potion of the caterpillar, so they can ignore difficult terrain. So, he has parked quite a few units within charge range of that fleabag horde, which is giving me something to think about, heading into goblin turn 1. There was also a bit of shooting over here from these skulkers. However, they could not put any damage onto the troll bruiser or the giants. So, goblin turn 1 coming up. Goblin turn 1, and you can see that the sharp sticks moved up a little bit, but they haven't left their flank exposed to anybody, which allowed the spitters to unleash their firepower down towards the winged slasher, but they only put 1 damage on him. In the centre here, you can see the fleabags have charged into the woods, which is why the woods are now on top of them. They charged into that unit right there. They put 5 damage on them though, which is slightly disappointing, so they couldn't remove them. Everything else moved up a bit, staying out of the winged slasher's charge range. The rabble moved forward quite a hefty amount. And all the shooting from over here, for example, lightning bolts and the big rock thrower, all failed to do any damage. Quite a fruitful turn 2 for the Orcs. So as you can see, they've vacated this area here because there were a lot of charges. The Slasher and Gakamak charged into these sharp sticks. You can see they've wavered them by putting 12 damage on them. In the centre here, you can see that the giant fleabag horde has been removed with a triple charge of doom from all 3 of these big cavalry units. One of them's also been healed up a few wounds as well, as a result of the God Speaker and also the healing charm on the flagger. They've been healed up. Everything else has just positioned itself, and some shots were fired into the rabble, which has also wavered them. So quite a bit of wavering going on, and the Goblins have still got this meaty centre, but the area surrounding it isn't looking too healthy at the moment. Goblin turn 2, and the line has advanced up, getting slightly in the face of the Orcs now, so there's going to have to be a showdown pretty soon. The rabble obviously couldn't do anything because they were wavered, so were the sharp sticks, so they just stayed where they are. The winged slasher was pelted with arrows, which were Bane chanted up. They did 5 damage on it, taking him up to 6, but couldn't roll enough to get rid of him. The holy hand grenade on the flagget completely missed, as did the big rock thrower, and the lightning bolt from that whiz down there through the crevice between the giants put 2 damage onto these skulkers, but couldn't even waver them. So it's not looking too healthy for the Goblins at the moment, but it's all about to go down, I think, because there's a lot of Orc cavalry here that's within charge range now, but much of it would be hindered with these annoying woods right here. Orc turn 3, very, very fruitful. Not so much over in this corner, where the Slasher charged into the Spitters, did 5 damage on them, but couldn't remove them. Gakamak had a bit more luck, and he finished off the sharp stick horde, though. This cavalry unit took out the Mincer, and these 2 combo charged to take out 1 unit of Trolls. So it's not looking too healthy for the Goblin forces here. The Bruiser isn't actually engaged in combat there. He's just leaning forward slightly onto them. There was some shooting attempted on the rabble, but no damage was done, so they're still in the fight. So the Goblins, pretty much all their substantial forces are in that little compact block there. So they're going to start killing some things now, I think. Goblin turn 3, and it's looking a little bit healthier now. So over here, the Spitters, with their devastating countercharge, actually put some decent damage onto the Slasher, who is at death's door, but they couldn't quite remove him or waver him. Over here, lots of units with shooting attacks converged into this region so they could unleash on this cavalry unit, for example the War Trombone, which was Bane chanted by this whiz, and also the Holy Hand Grenade, and the Big Rock Thrower. All of those unleashed towards this unit here. The Hand Grenade missed, the Big Rock Thrower hit, but only rolled a 1, so it didn't do too much damage, only 5, not enough to remove. The Bruiser took out his frustrations on this unit here, put 4 on them, again not enough to waver. The Trolls took out a Skulker unit with relative ease. The Giant and the Rabble took out the other Skulker unit with relative ease, and this Giant put some damage on these Trolls here. So it's a little bit congested for the Orcs, which could be their only stumbling block at the moment, because they are outnumbering the Goblins, but some of their units will find it difficult to get into the combat they want, because it's such a big traffic jam in the centre there around the Yellow Snow region. Orc turn 4, which has been a bit of a mixed bag, because over here the Rabble have been removed, and over in this corner the Spitters were removed with a very nice nerve roll from Mr. Winged Slasher. Gakamak didn't do very well, and he put 2 damage on the Flagget and couldn't even waver him. And then, in the centre, damage was dished out to the Bruiser, the Trolls and the Giants, but none of them became wavered either. So the Goblins do have a chance to inflict some serious pain now, but it's going to have to be very serious though, because this Orc flank is going to start closing in very soon. Got to get that killing done ASAP. Goblin turn 4, and the shooting might of various lightning bolts took this unit up to 7 damage. However, double 1. Wow wow. Over here, the Troll Bruiser, who regenerated a few wounds, wavered this unit here, so that's going to block them in a little bit. They're on 8. These Trolls did 8 damage to this unit, but rolled 1 lower than would have been enough to waver them because of the presence of the War Drum, which was charged by the Giant, who failed to do any damage to it because the only 2 hits he got both were 1s, so no damage on the War Drum. Then this Troll unit here suffered 4 damage as a result of this Giant, and this Whiz has just moved up there to try and block those Orcs in a bit to give them less mobility. So hopefully they're boxed in a little bit, which should preserve a tiny bit of hope for the Goblins heading into turn 5. Orc turn 5. Nothing further has actually been killed, but lots of wavering going on. Damage to the Giants, but they're not wavered. The Trolls are wavered, and of course it was the unit that didn't have Dwarven Ale. The Bruiser is also wavered, and this Wiz has been wavered as well by Gakamak. So it's still somewhat in the balance, because I've still got a few cards to play here. See if the Goblins can make this look a bit more favourable. Goblin turn 5. So you may have noticed that it's looking a little bit bare up here, but let's concentrate on the shooting first of all, because I had a lightning bolt from this guy here, which he fired into the winged slasher. He did the 1 damage he was after and then managed to waver it, which is quite tasty. Then, down here, the big rock thrower decided to launch a big fat rock and actually successfully hit the unit of Gore Riders that was here and did a ton of damage and completely obliterated them, which was very nice. Up here, the fleeing Flaggit came back into the fight and dropped a holy hand grenade into this unit of Orcs here, knowing that were they able to attack the Trolls, they would almost certainly finish them off next turn. And he managed to waver them with the damage that did, so that's holding them up. Then in the centre, this giant killed the War Drum, which enabled this giant here to roll exceptionally well and take out that unit of Trolls in one fell swoop. So that's swung it quite a bit now, because there's lots of units that are blocked and lots that are wavered. So the Orcs don't have that many manoeuvring options in turn 6. This could be the final turn. They need some rolls to go in their favour now, otherwise we could be heading towards possibly a draw, looking at how much stuff there is close to the centre. Orc turn 6, and they may have swung it back again, because down here, the combination of Gakamak and the Gore Riders managed to kill off the Troll Bruiser, and there's a giant missing as well. That's because the Godspeaker fireballed him to death. So he's gone. This giant's taken some damage as well, but not enough to remove it. And these Trolls, of course, are fine, because everyone around them was boxed in. So, Goblin turn 6 could be the final turn of the game, and I've still got some really annoying shooting attacks, and lots of the Orc units are quite heavily damaged. So if I can roll well, I could kill some things. If I go back to my rolling from the first couple of turns with my shooting attacks, then it's going to be an easy Orc win, probably. Goblin turn 6, you can see that the giant has wavered this unit of Great Axe over here. These Trolls killed the unit they were facing off with, and they've turned to face the imminent threat from this unit. There was another unit of Gore Riders here, but they were killed off by a holy hand grenade. Then lots of other shooting was thrown around, lightning bolts left and right, but despite putting extra damage on the winged slasher, I could only roll 3 for his nerve test, so he's not even wavered, he's just fine, threatening this whole area here. We've worked it out, and if the game ends now, it's actually going to be a draw, because I've got less than 200 points more within 12 inches of the centre. So if it goes to turn 7, I'm pretty confident the Orcs would probably win, though. They've got a pretty good chance of wiping out the giant and also the Trolls, I would say. So I'm probably hoping that it ends now in a draw. So 1 to 3, the game is over. 4 to 6, it continues for another turn. It's a 4, so we are going to get turn 7. Orc turn 7. So everything pretty much has moved to within the scoring zone. These Gore Riders did damage to the Trolls, but couldn't get rid of them. Gakamak went into the flank of the giant and wavered it, so it's only going to be able to countercharge him next turn. The Winged Slasher went into the Wiz and put 4 damage on it, so it's not going to be able to shoot, which is bad. And you may notice that the Flaggit with the Holy Hand Grenade has been flamed off the table by the God Speaker. So it's going to come down to, can I kill enough to make this a draw? And it's going to be very close. I'm going to have this thing land its rock successfully, probably. And also I've got a lightning bolt coming from down here as well. So it's going to be close. I'm going to have to decide what to shoot at and then roll well. Goblin turn 7. Now, as you can see, lots of damage was dealt out. A big rock successfully landed on the Winged Slasher, dealing some serious pain. But as you can see, the nerve roll was a 3 again, so he was only wavered. Then the giant countercharging into Gakamak got 5 damage on him and wavered him as well. And then, over here, the Trolls charged into this unit of Gore Riders, put 5 damage on them and also wavered them. So, I think if I'd rolled 1 higher on most of these units would have been dead, I think. So not very good nerve rolls in Goblin turn 7 there, which as a result means that the Orcs have around about I think it's just under 400 points more, or around 400-ish points more than the Goblins in the central area, needing 200 for the win, so the Orcs have taken it in very, very perilous circumstances.
For both sides.
For the Goblins, it looked really bad for them. Down to minimal units, just that big meaty centre was left halfway through the game, but then that hit back and started wiping out the Orcs left and right with all those annoying little shooting attacks started landing from turn 5 onwards. So you can't really get much closer than that, can you? Because if this winged slasher had gone, it would have been a draw. And on average, he probably should have gone. I think he only needed 4 or 5 to get rid of him. I think it was 4 I needed, actually. So very, very close. Very, very tasty one. But the Orcs have reigned supreme over the patch of yellow snow. They're going to build that yellow snowman, which of course has magical properties according to the dwarven messenger. They can leave with their heads held high. What's left of them? There's not that many units left on either side, really. And they've all taken some pretty heavy damage. So, on my list, I'm thinking that the Fleabag Horde, even though I used it terribly in this game, I don't think I'd be able to use it in any way that was better. Because just seeing it on the table when there's terrain, it makes you realise just how big and unwieldy, even though it's nimble. It makes you realise how difficult that would be to use in a tournament where people have got tiny little chaff units that could just park in the way of it. So even when they're nimble, they would still have a tough time, I think, pivoting because of the size of the unit. So I think I'm going to amend that slightly. The big rock thrower, I think, has earned its stay in my army now, after landing a couple of hits that actually did well, and it was just the poor nerve rolling that allowed certain things to survive. And I think everything else I'm pretty pleased with. I like the meaty centre with the giants and the trolls. That usually does very well. And so it's just going to be a matter of rejigging the cavalry, maybe going down to a regiment and then maybe a smaller unit of sniffs, possibly. What about the Orcs? Any changes you're going to make to that list?
Yeah, so I took an iteration of this army to a tournament last weekend, and I came 10th out of 16, but I thought it did quite well. I took a lot of points off the people that I played, so I kind of wanted to stay with it. So for this game, I've added an extra unit of Gore Riders. So the tournament, I only had 2 units. So this is going for 3 units of Gore Riders, and then the Slasher and Gakamak. So the idea is just to smash through with them and not sort of worry about the centre too much. And that worked really well early on. So I think the first part of the game, I think I just came at you and did a lot of damage early on.
That healing was very helpful for you.
And the healing was good because I had Godspeaker with heal and then the healing charm on the flagger behind the troll horde as well. Kept things alive. The centre's always going to be a bit sort of more vulnerable, but I included the skulks in this, which I've never used before, and I thought maybe I could have used them a bit better, but I think they did okay. I think they gave you something to think about in the middle, and they made my units a little less vulnerable.
Yeah, with a bit of practice using them to stop yourself being so vulnerable to the charge.
Yeah, because the trouble with Orcs is they don't have a lot in the toolbox. They're pretty much what they are. They're just sort of melee fighty units, and I'm a bit guilty of losing my infantry too quickly usually, but I think I did better in this game. I mean, you had a great turn 5 where you came back with your centre and with your artillery, and you got some big shots off and took a few of my things off the board. But I think I'd just done enough damage earlier on in the game to just hang in. But that Crudger should have gone, the Slasher. He was hanging on for dear life, and you hit him with quite a lot of stuff. So that was a bit lucky. But I think you expect to lose big models like that. They're just expensive. That's the only trouble.
He did quite well though. In the corner, he took out a couple of units.
He did. He basically he's expensive, and people sort of say that are they worth it? These Crudges on Slashers. They're only defense 5. The nerve it's high. You know, it's monster nerve, but it's not ridiculously high. It's only 16, 18. But I think they are worth it because he pretty much tied you 2 hordes up in the corner, and then he managed to get himself back into the centre. So in this game, he did well. I did lose him a lot in the tournament, but he did well in this game.
In terms of specifically this game, without changing the list at all, I think that had I charged my Fleabag Horde over into that corner towards the winged slasher and stopped him flying, even though I would have been hindered by that wall, that maybe would have tempted the cavalry on the Orc side to charge them, which would have kept them further away from the centre. And then if I had just sent other things into them slowly and held them up, maybe, It might not have worked out because we ended up with a turn 7, but it would have taken them away from the action area.
Yeah, I had a bit of a debate over that in my mind because I was considering because I have 3 units of Gore Riders. I thought maybe I've got enough to send one off up into that direction to help out with the Crudger, because I didn't think he'd do enough on his own. But I was torn between that, because I thought if I take them away from the centre, we are playing Dominate, so I need to get that hitting power into the middle. So maybe if you had done that, that would have disrupted my plan a little bit more. But as it was, once you charged that horde in, I knew it had quite low nerve even though it's a horde. So I thought if I just hit it, it's going to pop. Even if I'm hindered, which it did, it popped. So yeah, you didn't get the best out of it there, but that's just the way it turned out. I think that one.
We completely ignored this part of the table, so I'm thinking maybe if I'd put flea bags over there, because I had extra deployments left at the end, I could have just moved them up around freely without suiciding them, and then used them to just threaten this whole area. But then it's so big, you could have just put skulkers in front of them to block them. So it's a tough one, and I don't like the fact they have such a huge footprint, so they're definitely going, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, that's it. So time for the old left-handed handshake.